A concerning trend is forming with the Reds lineup that makes me wonder why I wasn't more concerned with it to begin with.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Reds. My name is Jeff Carr, and I'm a lifelong Cincinnati Reds fan. I've been hosting this podcast, whether solo or co-hosted, going on my 7th season now, and I'm glad that you've made Locked On Reds part of your day, whether we are your first listen, your second listen, whatever many listens it is. Thank you so much. And if you're an everydayer, thank you as well. If you're not, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we've got all the Reds content for you all season long, because Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every single day. And on today's podcast, we later on in the show, I will predict the player who will be the biggest thorn in the Reds' side this weekend in Milwaukee. In a few minutes, I'll tell you why Hunter Greene is beginning to turn into the pitcher that we long expected him to be. But I'm going to start today with the ever-growing concern about the Reds lineup, because it's hard not to be, right? 2 games in a row, 18 straight innings, 0 runs. And there's not been many base runners either. One of the things that we have loved early on this season is it's felt like guys have battled. Guys have forced pitchers to throw a lot of balls and throw a lot of strikes and really force them to work. They haven't done that against Nathan Eovaldi. They haven't done that against Jack Leiter. They haven't done that against the Rangers bullpen after they, at least after Jack Leiter left the game. It was very frustrating to watch the final 2 games. And we always say, kind of tongue in cheek, whenever the Reds score a bunch of runs in one game, we're like, well, hang on, save some for the rest of the series. But they didn't. And it always is kind of funny to look back on that and say, well, now we wish we could have spread it out, because the Reds won this series 14-5 in the runs category, but that's not how it works in baseball. You can score 100 runs in one game, but if you score 0 in the next 2, you lose 2 out of 3. That's just the hilariousness of this game. And so that's what happened here with the Reds. The lineup feels like it has a little bit of a renaissance on Monday, and then it goes back into the dark ages for the next 2 days. The problem, too, is that it really seems like 4 through 9 in the batting order are easy outs. Like maybe you could argue Christian Encarnacion Strand, but even he's hitting 235 right now. And I know batting averages this short into the season are almost worthless. I mean, Elliot De La Cruz is hitting 333 right now. Do we expect him to be that high the rest of the season? Not quite, although it would be awesome. But that's not where we expect him to be. And I think overall, even when you look at TJ Friedl and Matt McLain, TJ Friedel's hitting 238, Matt McLain's hitting 250. So there's one guy in this lineup that's getting hits at a very high clip, at a high enough clip early on in the season that you're excited about it. Everybody else is sort of floundering a bit, sort of still trying to figure it out. And for the last 2 days, the things that they couldn't figure out were the off speed and the breaking stuff. I mean, both Jack Leiter and Nathan Eovaldi pitched backwards. There was a little bit of fastballs here and there, but they were not the featured pitch for either guy. Nathan Eovaldi was all about the curveball and the splitter, and Jack Leiter had a decent curveball, but really his slider was what was killing the Reds, and a bit of a cutter as well. And anything that Jeimer Candelario saw coming plateward, something's up with him. He doesn't look right. It doesn't look like he's seeing pitches really well at the plate right now, and he's swinging at just about everything. But I look at this lineup, and I wonder a bit, because we talked about during spring training, we thought this lineup would bounce back. And while we're super early into the season, and it's too early to say no, it won't, it's looking a little bit rough right now. And it's funny, because this is something that I thought about after the loss to Nathan Eovaldi. I didn't love the bunt, and I'm not going to rehash my questioning of the decision to bunt. I realize I've been a little bit hard on Terry Francona to begin this season. We still have a long time. He's got a long leash, and he's got to get these guys to figure it out, because clearly There's some guys on this roster that ain't learning. Jake Fraley got picked off in the 8th inning yesterday, in case you missed that. Had a nice 2-out single, and then he tried to time the relief pitcher Chris Martin's delivery well enough to at least get going. And so if there was contact made, he can mess with the defense a little bit. But instead, Chris Martin just picked him off. So there's still that, right? Our wonderful stuff that Terry Francona's trying to work through with these guys. And he's trying to get something going, whatever it might be. If it is that 9th inning bunt he tried with TJ Friedel, he's trying to figure something out here because this lineup's not figuring out for themselves at the moment. Early season, typically in Major League Baseball, guys struggle with the breaking stuff. Guys struggle with the off-speed stuff. But the Reds right now don't look like they've ever seen those pitches. There's a lot of guys that are swinging at sliders and curveballs that are breaking well below the zone that they wouldn't need just a torpedo bat. They need a whole torpedo to hit that thing. But I think that this is something that we got to give a little bit of time. It's just how much time do they require, because they cannot be punting an entire month. We've seen that before, and it doesn't end well. You've got to remain as close to 500 as you can before you figure things out. Because quite frankly, I don't want them to figure things out all the way right now. I'm looking up at Chicago right now. Chicago is going crazy. The Cubs are sweeping the A's, and they're hitting everything. If the Reds were hitting everything every single day, I would wonder a little bit. Are they getting hot too early or something like that? And maybe that's just me not being able to be happy, but I don't want them to be hot in April. I just kind of want them to be treading water. Tread water around 500 for a month or two, month and a half, let's say. Play 500 ball, and then get hot when it gets hot. When the temperature gets hot, go crazy. Like what they did a couple of years ago in 2023. The month of June, the month of July, they were on fire. Absolutely fantastic. So if you can hang around 500 until you hit that point, you can start talking about playoffs for real. As much as we think that this team can make it there, they've still got to prove it. And right now, they're proving a lot. I saw somebody in my mentions yesterday saying Reds are going to win 65 games. Now, I don't believe that. But right now, 2-4, they're not exactly setting the world on fire either. I did try to do the thing too. You know, I love to do this every so often. When there's a guy that's struggling, or when the Reds are struggling, especially at hitting, you look at the batting average on balls in play, the BABIP. How lucky or unlucky are they getting? Quite frankly, the Reds aren't really getting that unlucky right now. Their biggest issue is they're not hitting the ball hard. These last 2 games total, they have 11 hard hit baseballs in play. Now, most of those found gloves, so you do call that a little bit unlucky. But the fact that that's all you're generating, they generated 6 off of Nathan Eovaldi. They generated 1 hard hit ball off of Jack Leiter, and then a couple off of the guys who came in out of the bullpen. By the way, can we so it's going to be so, you know, Reds and American League teams, they do a home and home every other year. So the Reds will go back to Texas next year. So in 2027, can we just mark it down that hopefully Jack Leiter pitches in Cincinnati and the Reds can light him up, because I'm getting really tired of guys named Leiter pitching against the Reds. Anyway, rant over on that. But this lineup needs to get things going. And it's unfortunate because of how bad the lineup has been these last 2 days and how inconsistent they have been through these first 6 games. They are wasting some great pitching, and we have seen great pitching. And I think we will continue to see great pitching from one Hunter Greene, because his performance, and quite frankly, what his performances have built to this point in his career, is only proving everything that we said about him as he was getting called up correct. I'll tell you why coming up next. There's a great app and a great website for you to check out to help you manage your money. You can see all of your accounts, all of your finances, all of your investments in one place, and that is at monarchmoney.com. Look, it's tax season. I get it. We're coming to the close of it. A lot of us have already filed, but if there's a great way to help you build wealth and not just manage your money, It's through Monarch Money, because I can see my spending accounts, I can see my savings accounts, and I can see my investment accounts, my 401k. It's all in one place. I don't have to go to multiple websites and remember multiple passwords. I just got one. But Monarch Money can help you with so many things. And right now, I got a great deal for you. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB on the Monarch Money app and over at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get half off your first year. Thanks for making Locked On Reds your first listen, your second listen, however many listens every single day. And shout out to our everydayers out there. If you're an everydayer, appreciate you making us a part of your day every day. If you're not an everydayer, hit that subscribe button, because we've got Reds content for you all season long. Myself, Steve, will be back here on the next episode whenever we cross over with Chuck Freeman from Locked On Brewers, getting us ready for this series. And also Tim Daniel on the Reds postcast. So much content for you all season long. All right, Hunter Greene hit a career milestone yesterday in his fantastic performance against the Rangers. He hit career strikeout number 500. He became the fastest Reds pitcher to ever do that. He did that in 74 games. Luis Castillo was the guy to do that. He held the fastest time before him. And this is absolutely, and Barry Larkin said it on the TV broadcast, but this is absolutely just one of many things that he's going to rack up over his career and in different seasons and things like that. Like, there's going to be so many accolades attached to him. Hunter Greene is an ace. And I think that we like to say that certain pitchers have certain, like, periods of performances that are very ace-like, but I think we can confidently title Hunter Greene as an ace. He is a guy that should be considered in the Cy Young Award every single year, and as long as he is healthy, he should be in the top 5 of that award every year. I believe he will win one very soon. Could be this year. Be nice if it was this year, because I forgot that I put a wager on a future for him to win the Cy Young, and then I put another wager on it. So yeah, that'd be kind of nice. But I think he's got the talent to do it very soon. He's developed that third pitch in the splitter, but he's also developed like a secondary slider. He's got a horizontal slider. He's got a vertical slider. His fastball isn't straight. I would say sometimes, and honestly, the double that was hit by Josh Smith that ended up being the one single run that was allowed on Wednesday's game, that was a fastball that was low in the zone. It wasn't poorly located, but as you watched it leave his hand, as you watched the replay, you could kind of see there wasn't a lot of movement to it. There's other fastballs that he throws that it looks like there's a ton of movement to. So if he can get that consistent, then maybe he's not allowing any runs. But there's nothing to complain about from his performance on Wednesday. I mean, 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 run allowed, it was earned, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. 8 strikeouts. He does everything you need an ace to do. The only thing he's not doing is hitting, because that's the only thing that the Reds aren't doing right now. They're pitching really well, though, and Hunter Greene is the head of the reason why. He's become so efficient that even his misses, if you watch him pitch and some of the misses that he misses outside the zone. You remember his first couple of seasons, one of the biggest issues was when he missed with his fastball, he missed up and over the plate. Very poorly placed, and it would get crushed and it would be gone. But it really seems like this is who Hunter Greene is now. I mean, in Wednesday's game, 63% of his pitches were fastballs. But the average exit velocity that anybody had when they made contact with that fastball was 85.8. League average exit velocity on any pitch is 88. So he's inducing weak contact on 100 mile an hour fastball. It's fantastic to see. And I think that while, and it was a note that I had early on in the game, it kind of felt like the Rangers were fouling off a ton of pitches and forcing higher counts But then Hunter Greene adjusted beautifully, and he had some very quick innings there in the fourth and the fifth innings, kind of getting him to those later the longer performance, as you would, in 94 pitches in 7 innings. But I think he did a good job of mitigating that, where early on the Rangers were trying to extend at bats by fouling pitches off. I don't necessarily think that was because they saw the pitch and they were just able to foul it off and wait for a better pitch to hit. It was that they were swinging and they were just barely clipping it. Because as good as Hunter Greene has been in his career at missing bats, and when you get to 500 strikeouts and 74 starts, you're really good at missing bats. He has learned how to miss barrels. And it's perfect, and he's not going to pitch in Milwaukee, so we won't see that happen. But it's perfectly, a perfect comparison to look at what Hunter Greene did yesterday against the lineup in the Rangers that is super formidable. And remember what he did against Milwaukee a couple of years ago when Milwaukee hit 5 home runs off of him. We're going to see Nestor Cortes face the Reds, and I'll talk about that here in a bit. But Nestor Cortes gave up 5 home runs against the Yankees a couple of days ago. Ask Brewers fans how they felt about that. It's pretty much the same how we felt whenever Hunter Greene gave up 5 home runs to the Brewers. But I digress. The whole point here is when he's not missing bats, he's missing barrels. And we said early on in his career, he's got to stop worrying about missing bats and start missing barrels. And that's exactly what he's doing. I love to see the development that Hunter Greene has gone through, because it's still, he still gave up some fly balls. Right? When you look at the batted ball statistics from Wednesday's game, that was one of those things that you worry about, especially in Great American Ballpark. And there were still a couple of flyouts like to deep right field, to deep center field. And a bit of it, you wonder if the wind hadn't been so crazy. A tornado didn't touch down in downtown Cincinnati, but the wind was blowing like there was one. It was kicking up dust on the broadcast. The camera out in center field on the batter's eye that gives you the over-the-shoulder view of the pitcher of every pitch was shaken to high heaven. It was crazy windy there. So sure, you could argue that some of those fly balls might have been home runs in better weather conditions, but they did not have high exit velos. They weren't hit very hard off of the pitches that Hunter Greene throws. That's really where I'm most impressed with him. Because you can say strikeout totals are impressive, and they are. That's what pitchers get paid on. You can say win totals are impressive, and they don't get paid on win totals now like they used to. I think most teams understand what makes a good pitcher, and win totals aren't it, as much as pitchers shoot for wins. And Bronson Arroyo will tell you this, pitchers want to get them wins. That's not the best way to evaluate pitchers anymore, and everybody understands that. But two of the best ways to understand whether or not a pitcher is elite is how do they limit the walks and how do they limit the hard contact. Hunter Greene has become elite at both. And I'm very excited about it. Very excited. And I'm also excited about the Reds' opportunity this weekend. 4 games in Milwaukee. You know what that means. There's definitely going to be some annoying performances by Milwaukee Brewers, but I'm going to tell you who I think will be the most annoying coming up next. Oh, caught me with some pistachios. I'm telling you what, man, you got to get you some wonderful pistachios right here. They are amazing. Great flavor is packed into each one of these pistachios, these specific ones being chili roasted. They're about empty. I need to go get me some more, but I might get some salt and vinegar, might get some jalapeno lime, might just get some nice salt roasted pistachios because they're so delicious, but they're packed with protein. This is the kind of snack that you can replace your chips, you can replace your pretzels, and you can get you some pistachios and feel better about every bite that you take. In fact, I can't wait to take this bite. You got to learn more, though. You got to check out the snack that packs a protein punch over at wonderfulpistachios.com. Check them out in your grocer near you. They're all over the place. Get yourself some wonderful pistachios right now. This one's mine. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. I mean, look, I'm always looking for peak performance while I'm armchair dugout managing from home. And Just Ingredients is the thing that I reach for because they've got NSF certified line of products with like protein powder, electrolytes. They've got the pre-workout that I use before I go to the gym, before I jump on the treadmill, before I jump on the rowing machine, and really try to get myself into shape. Just Ingredients helps me do that. Plus, they've partnered with two-time MVP Brice Harper, who trusts their NSF certified products just as much as I do, if not more, and it fuels his training and recovery every single day. Visit justingredients.us and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow Just Ingredients on Instagram. If you can't watch us on YouTube, you can always check us out on your favorite audio podcasting platform. Seriously, we're on all of them, so make sure you subscribe today. All right, the Reds are getting ready to face the Brewers for 4 up in Milwaukee starting tonight. Interesting that they had no off days after their first homestand, but hey, I digress. They're heading to Milwaukee, and you've got an interesting set of pitchers here. The Reds are going to miss Freddie Peralta, which means they'll get everybody else. But they've had 4 starts or 4 different pitchers make their first couple of 4 starts. You had Nestor Cortez, you had Aaron Savale, who he actually used to pitch for the Guardians, pitched for the Rays a little bit as well. And then you have a guy named Elvin Rodriguez, who I'm not familiar with. And you have a guy who was listed as a relief pitcher, and he pitched 5 shutout innings against the Royals back on Tuesday. His name was Chad Patrick. I don't know what it is about the Brewers and finding guys with names that just don't sound like major league ball player names. Anyway, they always do well with them though. But I'm very intrigued with this because obviously the Brewers means Christian Yelich. And I did this I did this 2 years ago, I think. Trying to remember. Everydayers will remember when I predicted the demise of Christian Yelich. And I was dead wrong. He was really good last year. He killed the Reds. And so until he retires, I'm just going to say it's going to be Christian Yelich is going to be tomorrow's nemesis. By the way, this is going to be something that I want to start whenever we're looking at like weekend series and stuff like this. We'll predict the nemesis of the weekend, as it were. But Christian Yelich is an easy pick. There's somebody else that I'm looking at, though, because, I mean, as easy as it's easy to pick Christian Yelich, right? I'm also looking at Brice Turang. Brice Turang continues to be a guy that just absolutely baffles me. He's not a guy that was high up on the list. And I remember whenever he was first called up 2 years ago, one of our former Locked On Brewers hosts talking about Brice Turang and saying, he's got a good glove, but we're just not sure he's going to hit enough. And I don't think he's stopped hitting. In fact, so far this season, he's hitting .320. And I think it's going to be interesting how the Reds pitching staff pitches to him. But you've also got, and as much as those guys can be nemesis to Reds pitching, Christian Yelich and Brice Turang, you've also got the absolutely titanic struggle. I mean, the staring match that's going to happen between Brewers pitching and Reds hitting. There's a reason I'm saying that, because we talked about the Reds lineup earlier on in today's show. Brewers pitching has not been that good. Nestor Cortez, his first start was against the Yankees, and that was when they all were worried about the torpedo bats, right? 8 earned runs on 5 home runs, and he walked 5 guys. I don't know if torpedo bats have anything to do with walks, but and he only pitched 2 innings in the Bronx against his former team. Got shellacked. Then you had Aaron Savale get beat up a little bit less, but not much less. 5 earned runs on 3 homers in 3 innings. And then Elvin Rodriguez gave up 4 earned runs on 6 hits, a walk, and a homer in 4 innings. So these guys have not pitched well in their first start. They're looking for a bounce back. We're hoping that they don't. But the Reds lineup's looking for a bounce back too. So whatever the opposite of an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object, so a an an unmovable force meets a yeah, whatever. Anyway, we'll come up with whatever the opposite of an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object is. But that's what the Reds lineup versus the Brewers pitching staff is. Brewers pitching really limited the Reds last year. So I'm hoping that that doesn't continue. I mean, the pitching staff for the Brewers is a wee bit different. There's no Colin Ray. Brandon Woodruff is not back yet. You don't have Devin Williams anymore. You've got guys like Joel Payamps and Elvis Peguero that are still there, but they're not really pitching very well to start the year either out of the bullpen. So what's this going to look like? How are the Reds going to hopefully take advantage of the Brewers pitching and get right a little bit? Because this series, and we're going to break it down a lot more on the next Locked On Reds podcast whenever Chuck Freeman from Locked On Brewers joins us, and Steve will be back as well. We'll preview the series together. But I really feel like the Reds need some good vibes coming out of here. The expectation is to split. A 4-game series, you usually predict a split. But if they want to kind of reset the season, I mean, tell me if you don't agree with this take, but I believe the Reds could reset their vibes back to pre-opening day levels if they win 3 out of 4. If you take 3 out of 4 from the Brewers this early on in the season, it's going to feel like you're starting to exercise some rivalry demons here, because the Brewers have owned the David Bell version of the Reds. Now we've got the Terry Francona version of the Reds. And as much as we're still working on getting rid of the whole David Bell part of things and really establishing the Terry Francona part, this is going to be a big question mark. And I don't think that there's like the football vibes, like the Remember the Titans type of vibes when it comes to specific teams on the schedule. But I kind of feel like there should be for the Reds when it comes to the Brewers. Because as much as there's been so much hype and there's so much fun surrounding these young players for the Reds, and there's so much hope, every time they face the Brewers, they've gotten embarrassed. The only thing that I can think of that fights the embarrassment of what the Brewers have done to the Reds is the fact that Ellie stole home against the Brewers. But other than that, I have constant memories. PTSD sounds too strong, but I can close my eyes and I can see some specific failures. Guys going second to home and Stuart Fairchild completely missing the cutoff man. Guys getting picked off and trying to extend a base and getting thrown out. Reds runners, not Brewers runners. The Brewers seem to have had the Reds number. It's time for the Reds to get it back. So 2 out of 4 would be nice. 3 out of 4. And we're cooking with gas. We'll preview that series, though, coming up on the next Locked On Reds podcast with Chuck Freeman from Locked On Brewers. He's going to join me. Steve will be back as well. That's actually going to be in your feed a little bit before first pitch on Thursday. So look for that. And also look for Tim Daniel on the Reds postcast all weekend long. He's going to have you covered every single day after every single game. And I'm looking so much forward to the fact that I'm going to be traveling out to San Francisco to check out Oracle Park. I'll have a report for you later on in the week next week as Steve's going to hold down the fort until then. But thank you so much for checking out today's Locked On Reds podcast. If you are not an everydayer and you've gotten to this point, it's clear you've got to become an everydayer. Hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss anything we've got coming for you all season long, because we are Locked On Reds every single day.